Brian Miller, Small Town Movie Watcher, and this is my fourth attempt to record this review. And I just got done watching the movie John Wick, Chapter 2. And this movie's rated R, and it is rated R because of violence, lots and lots of violence. And it stars Keanu Reeves and a bunch of other people that you've seen before. Lawrence Fishburne, Common, Ian McKellen, Ruby Rose. I'm not sure why she's in it, but she's in it. So there's that. All right. So what's this movie about? This movie takes place 5 days after John Wick, the original one that came out 2 years ago, and John is just trying to retire. That's it. He just wants to retire. He just wants to go home and continue to mourn the loss of his wife, and just be. He just wants to be. They're just not letting him because he's a gentleman assassin and he's being pulled back in constantly. You keep pulling me back in. So John ends up having to, he gets pulled back in by a guy who he gave a mark to let him do this one-time job in John Wick. So, what were the good parts? The good parts were the fight scenes. I think that Keanu Reeves, being 52, 53, early 50s, is in great shape still to do these wonderful fight scenes, these long shot fight scenes. Three of them in particular. One, the catacombs in Italy. Two, the train sequence with Common on the subway, and three, in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. So those three fight scenes are fantastic, and I think Keanu Reeves in this long form shot really does a great job. Two, the next part of this is that the graphics are really great when it comes. This is just morbid, but really great when it comes to he shoots someone in the head, and there's a hole, and there's a. Once upon a time, not long ago, you would get a headshot, and the camera would focus somewhere else when you hear the, and you wouldn't see the blood spatter that happened. But now, because of CGI and that we're catching up to where technology is getting to a place where we can do this, it's really easy. So there's that. Now, the other part that was cool, and I said Keanu Reeves shots, the long shots were good, but the cool parts was this part in me that brought me back to 007 GoldenEye for Nintendo 64. If you're someone who played this, you would realize when you watched it, you're like, oh my gosh, yes. Because in the catacombs, the Italian catacombs under Rome, he placed these caches of guns, bigger and bigger guns, and also the bullets and whatnot throughout the catacombs. And so he would go, he'd pick up more bullets, he'd make more shooting, he'd pick up a bigger gun, he'd do more shooting. So, I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm watching a live action 007 GoldenEye player versus player. It's awesome. So, one of the best first person player versus player games, I think. Personally, I like the first person shooter, Wolfenstein 3D, but there's not a versus in that. That's just single player action. So, what was hard about this movie? What was bad about this movie? The movie, I thought it was a good movie. If you're not into violence, you're not into this movie, because it's just from first shot, first scene, all the way through. Okay, first shot, first scene, it's not violent. It's like second shot, first scene, violent. But it's just violent from here all the way to here. That's it. From here to here. It's just violent that whole time. So, I mean, there's that. So if you're not into the violence, don't watch this movie. If you're okay with violence, check this movie out. So that brings me to, is it safe for the family? No, no, it's not. This is rated R for a reason, and it's because there's headshots and there are lots of death. There's even a suicide that's shown right on screen. There is one shot of nudity, but you can't really see anything, but it's there. There is some cussing, some swearing in this movie, but it's not. There's been movies I've seen that is like 100 times more than this one. So this movie is not safe for the little kids. Under the age of 18, I do not recommend. So not safe for the family. But should you go see it? Yes. You should go see this. If you're over 18 and you like these shooter movies, this is a great movie for you to go and see. Yeah. I think my order of movies to see from this opening weekend from this last week would be Batman Lego Movie, John Wick Chapter 2, and then don't go see 50 Shades Darker. Don't see that. So that's it. Brian Miller, Small Town Movie Watcher. I just got done watching John Wick Chapter 2, rated R. And I do think that you should go see this movie if you're old enough. So that's it. We'll talk to you again soon, everybody. See you later.